G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is Blade Fist, a collection of unarmed weapons which are actually capable of firing projectiles and consuming ammo. There's a little bit of limitations to these weapons, such as not being able to see the ammo counter on your display, although I'm guessing that's only possible through some major script overhaul and script extender usage, but that's fine. We've got a little count here, and I believe that actually counts the amount of ammo you've got. We're going to be maxing out on ammo, so that probably won't be utilized all that much, but it goes, I think it's worth mentioning that. So what you've got here are two unarmed weapons of the standalone and somewhat customizable variety. They use the power fist animations, which are fairly slow. They're not super quick, but if you've got yourself set up with a decent unarmed or melee build, I think you'll find that these things are a potent addition to your arsenal. So let's go ahead and check out the Ballistic Fist first. Obviously, this thing originally from New Vegas. It shares some of its I guess, features of that, which means, yeah, that it fires bullets after you punch, but if you don't actually have the bullets for this, you can just punch them anyway, and they'll just do the unarmed damage. I think that's mainly on the thing that actually fires the blades, though, which, yes, this thing does actually fire the blades, which we'll get to in a second, but first, let's quickly go over what this thing can do. So right now, it's got the standard ballistic firearm, which uses the 44 rounds, and it'll just fire the one bullet. You can have an armor-penetrated version of that, or a calibrated one, which increases your crit damage. Now, that one's potentially the most potent option for this one, because one, if you're using criticals, you're doing more damage, but then you're using VATS, which means you can synergize stuff like Blitz, which is incredibly powerful, and unarmed Iron Fist rank 5, which causes paralysis on critical hits. So not only will you be getting better critical hit damage, but you'll be paralyzing them at the same time, so that seems like the best pick for the single bullet firing things. You've also got a tactical one, which is more of the commando type thing. This will fire a 3-round burst, but it'll sort of fork out in a specific pattern. So you can potentially use this to line this up. If you're up close and personal with an enemy, you'll hit them 3 times, which is good, but if you aren't, they'll just whiff off to the side. Potentially it could be okay in crowd control, so, you know, we'll actually show you what that's like when I get into actually shooting and punching guys with this thing, but I think that's worth having a look at. And you've got the shotgun ones, obviously. I found that with the standard shotgun one, most of the shotgun pellets go straight to the ground, so I don't think this is super useful, but potentially we could offset that with a double-barreled one. And if we're using VATS and it uses, you know, it fires all of the projectiles exactly where you punch, if you punch them in VATS and then get the follow-up pellets in VATS, this will probably be an incredibly powerful way to do it. Unfortunately, you can't really see the damage reflected in the weapon card here, but we'll have to take its word for it. So we'll go for the double-barreled ballistic firearm thing there. Firearm, forearm, firearm. Is that a pun? Probably is. And I've also got a legendary effect there if you need it. Now for the Blade Fist, which is actually, I guess, the main flagship of this mod, you get a little bit more. You even get elemental sort of thing. So you've got the superheating one, which adds a little bit of fire damage. Now keep in mind that the fire damage here is Skyrim flame damage, which is not coded in the game to have any resistance factor at all. So that's a free 69 giggity points of damage. And same thing with the cryogenic one. Now this one can freeze stuff, so it potentially got more utility than the fire one, so it's kind of up to personal preference, but I think this one would probably be better. It also makes the this blades glow differently, and you've also got the fission dispenser, which adds a whole lot of radiation damage. A whole lot of it specializes for killing stuff that is, I guess, susceptible to radiation, which is basically only humans, so they got to make it powerful to make it viable, right? And it also has a nice green glow, and it's got some plasma gun greebling on the side, which looks great. But I think the best thing is to chuck on a cryogenic thing, which makes it super chilled. Nice. Now, I've got the standard saw blade on right now, and what you'll find is that as you get to higher damages with this thing, the slower the projectile will go, and the less likely you are to recover your projectile. Like let's say a railway rifle, you can fire projectiles into the wall, but you can pick them up if you see them, which is great. Keep in mind that if you're using these elemental versions, you won't be able to actually recover your things. They'll be totally unrecoverable. So if you are potentially hurting on ammo and want to use this thing for slightly longer, what you can do is just give yourself, or just pull off the cryogenic or the fire or the radiation thing. You'll actually get yourself a little bit of damage to offset that, I suppose, which is nice. But yeah, you can just pull off the elemental version or modification and then just use these blades as is. And we've got the standard, the heavy duty Beatco blade with a R. That's kind of cool. I wonder how they did that. I guess they copied and pasted it. I don't see an R and a circle on my keyboard to do that, so that's very impressive. And yeah, this one has the best damage, but projectiles are slow and hard to recover. But we're going to be at close range when using this thing anyway. I don't expect us to be sniping too much with this thing, so I guess we'll just use that. And then this one has got carbide teeth. A lot of these do have bleed and cripple chances as well, so that's super helpful. And this steel blade here is a reference to the pit, because it's got the same sort of blade as the axes. I think the unique one was called a man opener or something. But yeah, it's a nice little callback to the Fallout 3's Pit DLC, one of the better ones actually. But yeah, if you want to check out these ones on your own, I do suggest downloading this mod and just experimenting on your own. But for performance sake, we'll just go with the heavy duty one. And for the ballistic fist, what I'll do is I'll chuck on a couple of other bits for it, so it can test out multiple projectiles. And I got ham fist because I spawned myself these things, and I think I've just pulled the unique version out of that, so that's good. We'll go and get started, I guess. Okay, so here we are where we usually start, and here's the ballistic fist in first person. This one is just the one with a double barrel shotgun approach on it. There you go. There's it in function. Now, unfortunately, they didn't sort of make this thing have any barrels at all. If you switch over to the the one with the blade, you'll see that the holster for the blade is still there, but the blade is removed, and they haven't like put barrels there, unfortunately. So I don't know where the shells are meant to come from, but that's how it works. It makes a big old combat shotgun sound and it fires some pellets into the wall. This one is the commando based one. It fires that 3-round burst, and I can use the decals in the wall to actually show you the spread of this. So yeah, it's fairly predictable. It's a lot more predictable than what the regular old shotgun one is. This one's just the it's the same thing again, actually. I think it's calibrated, though. This one is the super shotgun, the treble-barreled one, which seems to have a spread which, you know, puts it everywhere. I don't really see the use of that. And this is another unique one that I pulled. It's 50 caliber. I just spawned it in my inventory, and it just happened to be a unique one. So, yeah, the legendary mods are on the leveled list for this, and despite being 50 caliber, I'm hitting for 30, so not great. And despite this thing being super loud, I am not being detected, which is odd. And even the cryo blades, they're not doing a whole lot of damage. So what I'll do is I'll just punch this guy a little bit, and once we're actually hitting them, it's just kind of a bonus damage at this point, because compared to the actual blade, it is doing very, very little indeed. So I feel like it ought to be buffed a little bit. That was nice, though, just chopping the thing's head off. But let's go over to the double barrel ballistic fist here, and then find ourselves a gunner. I killed them before the shotgun blast could get them. Oof. Yeah, I'm not liking this projectile damage. Whether it actually scales with perks is I feel like it's irrelevant. Yeah, 2 damage per pellet, that ain't cutting it. We need some extra damage here, I think. I'm almost dead, actually. I wasn't watching my health bar, but what we'll do is we'll go for this. And like I was talking about before, you can paralyze them. Good old unarmed weapons. See, they are good for something. And just to... Oh, there's a power fist. I probably should have given you a little bit of a demonstration comparison before. But this thing's nearly hitting for 400. So, yeah, a vanilla power fist does beat the ballistic fist and blade fist, it would seem. At least it doesn't have the extra utility that you can modify onto it. But... yeah, not really feeling the whole damage on this thing right now. We can use stealth, though. We'll get the 5.1 times multipliers, which I'm fairly certain that that's higher than what it usually is. So that's good. You'll find with aiming this thing that what'll happen is your projectiles will land pretty much exactly where your cursor is, but the camera will sweep around a little bit. Now I am dead. We'll try that again. Righto, back to it now, and we'll give this a little bit more of a fair shake now. A little bit. There we go. We'll get you nice and crippled, and then you on the ground. You can go on the ground as well. And you can stop shooting me. Gotta play this slightly more smart now that we realize that we don't really have the damage to keep up with this. And what we'll do is we'll just utilize VATS as easy as we can. And we'll find the calibrated one, actually, just to give you slightly more critical damage. I think someone just got ragdolled there. Yeah, great job, mysterious stranger. Useless. Okay, so it appears that we're getting 14 over 3 projectiles. 16 if we headshot him, maybe. Perhaps the range is limiting on this, but still kind of not feeling it all that much. We'll just utilize VATS a little bit more. Grind up some more criticals, I suppose. Now, I do acknowledge that I'm playing on a difficulty that gives me a 50% damage penalty, but vanilla weapons do better than this, so yeah, I don't feel like there's much of an excuse for this. And that's an MG42, yeah. Probably don't want to be shot by one of those. There we go. His head pops off. We'll continue. Even with headshots at point blank range, 21 damage. Now that times 3 is what? 60? But, even then, it's not great. So, I feel like a little bit of a buff can be in order. Now, they must have been pretty happy with this mod because it was first released around, I don't know, years ago at this point. But, I've found that it's still in version 1 and I'm dead again. You know what? We'll just move on. Okay, we're going to go and take on Swan now, and I've made some changes to the armor. So right now I'm just wearing rad-powered arm and leg pieces, and with a... Basically, it's the equivalent of a Grognak costume, which takes up the chest piece under vanilla circumstances, and then all of my limbs are attached with rad-powered, and I'm in Nerd Rage too. I've got 40 strength, so... You know, that probably counts for something. We've also activated Nerd Rage here, so now we're getting... Yeah, that much damage, which, you know, might push it over the line a little bit. Might have, overcompensated for sure, but, yeah, I mean, if you really want this to work, you can just, you know, use all of these super powerful legendary items to, you know, make it work, so I guess there's that. And if you are on PC, you can just fine-tune it to your liking using the creation kit, so there's that too. But if you're on console, the latter really isn't an option. Go for a critical. He's spotted us, but I don't think it's going to matter all that much. Yeah, that's how quick you can finish it off using that. And I'm wondering whether this thing... It's hitting for 1200 now, that's insane, but... I wonder if the ballistic damage is increased by this. Helps if it can shoot straight. No, it appears to be as bad as it usually is, but that's okay because we can punch him for a casual, you know, 1800 damage, and I ain't even chemmed up either, so, you know, we're not pushing this to the limits. And just a quick confirmation, I've just picked 20 saw blades off Swan's corpse there, so it does add the ammunition and also the weapons into the leveled lists. Okay, so with overall strength, you actually get 4 more strength if you're wearing a full suit of rad-powered gear, which I feel like is going to be slightly helpful, but there's the lobster man. He's sitting in the water right now, so we can't cheese this with stealth criticals using VATS, but that said, I've got something else up my sleeve. So firstly, let's get this guy up and about. We'll switch over to a different thing and get his attention, see if we can't draw him out, but he's going to detect us very quickly if he sees us. And yep, fight's on now. at our current state of health, any hit will kill us, so we've got to make sure our VATS hits count here. So we'll be spamming criticals. We can't actually get this guy, I guess. Yeah, we can't actually get this guy, what's it called, paralyzed, because it's just something you can't do with these big guys. So we'll just hit him in VATS instead, or just hit him with Jet. So we just keep on punching. There we go, 1300 damage. Keep pushing him in the water. Seems to be a guaranteed stagger every time. And then we'll back off a little bit. We've still got, what, a few seconds left with the Jet. So there we go. Go for a critical. Almost dead. He's going to come crash down to Earth. And unfortunately, didn't get him with... It would have been funny if we killed him with full damage there. But maybe he's a little bit immune to that. Yeah, for some reason you can launch these giant-ass enemies into the air. Oh, he actually did hit us there. I was very lucky to walk away from that one. But yeah, you can actually do okay with this thing. But all in all, this thing, I mean, it's just not that good. The performance is very much inferior to a vanilla game Power Fist, so I've got a kind of a hard time recommending this thing, especially since its main functionality, which sets it apart from said Power Fist, is that it fires projectiles, but it does such little damage that it barely even matters at all. So yeah, I feel like if the mod author wants to come back and look at this and change a few things around, it probably could be improved in terms of its ranged abilities, but other than that, it's a fairly decent mod. We've got half-decent customization options, a new playstyle. I guess you can fire stuff with an unarmed thing, but again, there's nothing stopping you from switching to something like a pistol in the vanilla game when you're at range and then switching back to a Power Fist. So I feel like the, yeah, just buffing the ranged attack damage of this thing and maybe leaving it at the cost of less unarmed damage might be in order here to make it a little bit more appealing when it comes to everyday use. But there's the Blade Fist. Cool in concept, but in practice it falls short on the damage numbers. If you'd like to see this thing in your game, I'll be chucking a link in the description below. I believe this thing is available for Xbox One as well, so yeah, be sure to check out the description if you're interested. And also, there's a loot crate thing if you want to support the channel and buy some cool Fallout merch too. But that's about it for me. Thank you very much for watching, guys.